On January 18, 2017, literally overnight, Romania transformed into a field of protest. People gathered in Victory Square in Bucharest to oppose an emergency decree. The decree would have decriminalized embezzlement beyond 44,000 euros, among a number of other drastic modifications to the penal code. The protests were the largest Romania had seen since the revolution of 1989, when communism was abolished. However, the resist movement, as it came to be known, was only the tip of an iceberg which had been forming in Romania since 2012, awakening a civil society that seemed to be dormant in the previous years.
Social media has played an aggregator role in the protests in Romania. Protests that were successful in social media started to show results from 2012 onwards.
January 2012 marked the first authentic civil protests in post-89 Romania. Triggered by the resignation of the Minister of Health, the protests ended up overthrowing the whole government. In 2013, another major protest took place. Called Unit Salvăm, meaning United We Save, it aimed at stopping a bill that would have allowed a Canadian mining company to build a cyanide mine on the site of the Transylvanian region Roșia Montană. It was the first protest to use a hashtag, and it managed to force the government to reject the bill. 2014 saw further unrest. Tensions arose because Romanians living abroad, who tend to vote against the leading party, had to queue up for hours in order to participate in the presidential election. Images circulated on social media appealing to the people in Romania to go vote for the members of the diaspora, as the latter were deprived of their constitutional right to vote. And then, in 2015, a tragic fire happened in a nightclub in Bucharest because of no basic safety measures. The collective protests that were sparked by the fire became the foundation for the 2017 Resist Anti-Corruption movement. The protest motto was Corupția ucide, corruption kills, and, like in 2013 with Unit Salvăm, its main platform was a Facebook page. The immediate effect of the protest was the unexpected resignation of Prime Minister Ponta.
2017 is, in a sense, just at the tip of an iceberg of a lot of civic movement.
And another thing that online organizing facilitates is the speed of the reaction. So if we look at the resist protest, for example, that first night when the emergency decree was issued, within 2 hours people were in the streets. The reaction capacity was very, very fast because of the social media access, and because everybody was connected, and because people translated basically a social media type of anger and disappointment into street movements.
But there is another important aspect to keep in mind besides social media.
The first protest to use the hashtag on social media was the one against the cyanide leaching, gold leaching project called Roșia Montană. Also, so that was Unit Salvăm, so United We Save, and it was always bilingual. Romanians started to realize that in order for a protest to be successful, not only did they have to emotionally address Romanian sensibilities and interests, but also gain visibility abroad, particularly in the context of a growing diaspora. So a growing number of Romanians living abroad, but still identifying as Romanians.
And I think another thing that social media in terms of organizing facilitates is this again, connection between what's happening in the country and what's happening abroad. And it was the same for the Roșia Montana protests. It was the same for the resist movement. You had people organizing in similar ways abroad, and you had people coordinating abroad to what was happening in the country. So it was kind of like an international echo of everything that was happening in the country, which I think contributed to putting public pressure.
Romanians living abroad, or the diaspora as it is called in Romania, also organized the last two protests belonging to the resist movement. The first protest took place on August 10, 2018 and resulted in police violence against non-violent protesters, with over 400 people injured. Exactly 1 year later, on August 10, 2019, tens of thousands of Romanians staged massive anti-corruption protests in the capital to commemorate the violent police crackdown and to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Viorica Dăncilă's government. Through the protests they helped organize over the past 9 years, social media have contributed to the awakening of Romania's civil society. As a result, the leading party, PSD, has been ousted from power. However, Romania still has a long way to go in order to reach full transparency and justice. But with the current civil society, there is now hope.